Welcome to Salute to the Ears, where my family and I discuss everything Disney, from parks, food, and rides to travel tips, movies, and more. Hey everyone, welcome to Salute to the Ears. This week, Erica and I will be talking about our recent stay at Saratoga Springs Resort and some of the places we got to go and eat at. So, getting to go back and kind of revisit will be kind of good after this kind of crazy week that's been going on.
Yeah, it's been intense, that's for sure.
It'll be a good escape to kind of go back down there and kind of visit it in our head, even if we're not physically there, unfortunately.
Yeah, with the kids starting back school this week, that's been I am definitely already ready for a vacation again.
Jackson's getting like 13 hours less sleep than normal.
He's a growing boy.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna blame it on that.
Yeah. So it was a good stay. This was the second part of our stay while we were down there. The episode before we talked about our stay at Grand Destino. And then about halfway through, we switched over.
Yeah, and we did, we set this up before we left, knowing that we wanted to do a split stay. And that is one of the nice things that Disney's still doing, even in COVID, is that you can switch rooms and Bell Services will actually send your luggage over for you. So you don't even have to deal with, hauling stuff. If you have your own vehicle, you may want to do it that way instead, but you don't have to.
No, it was super easy. They came up to our room. Poor guy. This old guy was running around Coronado Springs basically by himself. You could tell he was out of breath.
Yeah.
He was hustling, doing the best he could. We had to wait a little bit for him to come up there. Or you can just take your bags down to Bell Services. But he came up there, got them, and then he took them straight over to Saratoga Springs for us.
What was I doing when he came by?
You went down to the shop or something.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I went down to get, we were looking for one more souvenir, I think.
Right, because then we were going to go grab breakfast and then go to Epcot.
Yeah.
That's what we did that day. So, and we'll actually talk about where we ate breakfast at here in a little bit and our experience with that.
But yeah, so we didn't actually go we didn't check out of Coronado Springs and Grand Destino Tower and then go straight over to Saratoga Springs. We actually didn't get to Saratoga Springs until that night. So we did a whole day in a park and then hopped on a totally new bus and
went over
and went to Saratoga Springs. So our first experience with it was actually not until
that night.
Gosh, it was...
Yeah, because actually,
8,
we ate dinner somewhere else, and then took a bus back to Disney Springs, and then took a bus there back down to the carriage house, which is like the main lobby.
Yeah, it was a little confusing. It was a little kind of wonky just because we did have dinner plans someplace else, so that kind of threw a wrench into things, but we made the most of it for sure.
Yeah, we tried to see as many resorts as we could, and that usually meant trying to eat at those resorts. So yeah, before we get too much further, why don't you go ahead and read the description of Saratoga Springs for us.
Okay, so on the Disney website, Saratoga Springs is described as inspired by historic Saratoga Springs, a late 1800s New York retreat famous for its spas and horse racing. This charming Victorian-style resort hotel is nestled between rolling golf course greens and the shimmering village lake. Delight in stately studios and multi-bedroom villas, dazzling pools, and a spa. You can also explore the fun activities and exciting dining options of Disney Springs, just a boat ride away.
Okay.
Or a walk.
Yeah, it was a walk. It was a short walk for us.
It was a short walk for us.
So where our room was located in Congress Park. There are several different neighborhoods. You have Congress Park in the Springs, the Paddock, the Carousel, and the Grandstand. And so we were in Congress Park, which is
Congress Park's the closest to Disney Springs.
Right. Our room, 1101, was the closest room possible to Disney Springs.
Yeah. So we actually had a really incredible kind of picturesque view of that side of Disney Springs, and especially in the morning.
Right.
Kind of light on the water. It's very, very peaceful and very beautiful, even though it was cold. Mm-hmm. I actually went out and sat on our little balcony area and had coffee and just watched the birds on the water and watch the mist rise, because it was really, really picturesque. So you have actually, when we're talking about Saratoga Springs, we've talked about before that we used to live in northern New York. We have visited upstate New York, and yes, there's a difference between upstate and northern.
Yes.
And you actually got to play in a golf tournament in Saratoga Springs in New York. And the town itself and that area is
very nice.
It's so nice, and it's incredibly historic too.
Right, it is. Just going through there, though, yes, you see lots of old buildings, but it's a pretty high-end shopping area as well. Now you still have the race course.
Yeah.
There's not a racetrack, a race course.
Yeah, you drive cars on a racetrack. You race horses on a race course.
So that's there, but when we were driving through, we noticed that the curbs on the sidewalks were granite.
Yeah. And
they sparkle, almost like there's glitter in them, so you can see them. So
yeah, I remember when you were at that golf tournament, I was stuck at home with a preschooler and a toddler, and I was cursing your name as you were telling me about all the nice food you were eating and the nice amenities and the nice hotel you were at, and
it was nice. It was a perk.
I'm pretty sure I got thrown up on during that. It's likely.
And we weren't technically in Saratoga Springs until we won a gift certificate to go play golf. We had to go play because we were there.
Yeah.
So but very nice town.
So that area in upstate New York is same as the area that we used to live in northern New York, up near the Thousand Islands region. Same thing down in that Saratoga Springs area is these were known as places where people from New York City, even down from the DC area, would summer.
Right.
So they would spend their summers they would either go upstate or they would go all the way up to northern New York, depending on their preference. But they would summer in these areas. And so that was kind of the idea and the feel behind what Saratoga Springs is this summer getaway of... Yeah,
that's what it's supposed to represent.
Yeah.
You have big rock walls there, and we'd see those up in New York. A lot of the old houses were stone houses.
Yeah, I mean, that is very traditional for that area, especially the older...
Right, and it's because of the weather.
Yeah.
They had some of that there at the resort, but not quite as much as what I think I was expecting. You described it, I think, the best out of everything that we've talked about with Saratoga Springs. It was really nice. It was very pretty. The landscaping is gorgeous, as usual for Disney properties, but... It feels like an apartment complex.
Yeah, very much so. It was hard, too, because there are parts of Saratoga right now that are under construction and going through room remodels, particularly Paddock area. Paddock Pool's getting ready to be redone right now. It's about to close.
Right.
And that's also going to close off the bridge across the main lake at Saratoga. In doing that, there's a lot of construction that's happening around there. So that also kind of adds to the apartment feel right now. But
yeah, it's an apartment feel, but it almost feels like it's multiple resorts smushed together. It feels like Old Key West, the way its buildings were, and this one were very similar.
Yes.
It was also very similar to color-wise to Caribbean Beach.
Yeah, I would say Caribbean Beach is You know, when you get the when you go to like the hardware store and you get the paint samples and it has 3 different colors and they're basically different gradients of each other, right? There's like a dark one and then it's almost like it's been tinted lighter and tinted lighter.
Right.
It's like Caribbean's the top one, the darkest color. And then QS was like that middle one. It's kind of that mid-grade. It's like a muted version of those same colors. And then Saratoga was like the lightest version of that.
So I think you can smash those together. And as I was sitting here thinking when I was talking about the rock, is like you can almost throw part of like wilderness in there. Like, because there were some rock walls, especially around like the carriage house. And
yeah, but I think that's still more...
Just kind of, that's its own twist.
That's its own twist on actual upstate. Like, I'm in New York, like, that's just part of the, like, how you built out of that landscape.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the way that we even would go on, when we lived in northern New York, you would find on trail, like, like actual, hiking trails. But you would see where there used to be old stone walls to mark properties, mark property lines and stuff. And so that was even on post. That was on base. So, I mean, that tells you how long some of those have
they've been there a while.
So for me, that was just more reminiscent of that. I didn't feel it, because that to me feels different than like how you build, like, say in Colorado. Which wilderness feels more like Colorado-ish to me than New York.
This complex, like, when I say it reminds me of an apartment complex, each building basically has its own big parking lot.
Yeah.
And it's it's truly a DVC resort. And that's what it was designed for. It was designed to come down there, stay for 2 weeks at a time. And be able to drive yourself to the park,
and around just in general around the area,
because the buses were an afterthought because they had to go turn around in weird places and come back, and the buses were not original to that resort.
Yeah.
So that was a little awkward. It's buses to all the parks. I mean, that's the only way you can get there. You can take boats to Springs.
Not right now.
Not right now. And it would have been longer for us to go walk down to the boats to go to Springs than it was for us to walk there.
Well, I will say, because there was one boat launch right by our room. So that would have been one thing that would have been the bridge that we would take over to Disney Springs was really close to our room. And so I'm kind of glad that the boats weren't running because we would have had the noise from that.
Probably.
And been able to hear that and had more people along there most likely than what we did. But that one went to, like, I think where that boat launch goes to Disney Springs, we wouldn't have necessarily been in the parts that we were trying to get to.
Okay.
So I don't know that it would have helped us, but yeah, we were still really close to a boat launch.
So this resort, though, is massive.
Oh my gosh, it's so massive.
It's so big. And Saratoga Springs, just those neighborhoods we talked to, itself is big. Technically, the Treehouse Villas are part of Saratoga Springs as well, and we didn't even go down there.
No, I mean, there's a part of me that wishes that we had kind of like...
Just gone down there and peeked?
Yeah, or, sweet talked one of our bellhops into driving us, like, around or telling us how to get down there. But we did have some really great bell services.
Oh, he was fantastic.
He was phenomenal. We actually had an issue getting into our room. And I think I figured it out that night. So here's one of the things right now about a split stay. If you book a split stay, you're technically making 2 reservations.
Right.
And right now, you still get complimentary magic bands.
Well, no, that ended.
It ended. But you were still getting complimentary magic bands for your stays.
Yep.
And so they actually, we got our magic bands for our first part of our stay, and we had them shipped to the house. But we never did anything about the second set.
Yeah.
And that reservation was actually linked to those magic bands that they sent to the resort.
Right.
That we never got because we didn't need them. And so they had to relink our current magic bands with this reservation.
So our bellhop picked us up at the carriage house with our luggage. Mm-hmm. We got on a golf cart with him, and he drove us all the way down to our room.
Yeah.
And, because, I mean, if we were walking, it's like...
It was like a 10-minute walk, almost.
Yeah. And considering we didn't know where we were going, and it was nighttime, and it was cold...
Yeah.
The golf cart was worth it. And then we get down there, can't get in there. He has to use his master key to get us in.
We were able to show him on our app.
Right.
Showing our room number.
Yeah.
It's showing our reservation, our room number, like all of that. So we were good there. But they, so he was able to use his master key. And then after that, it started working. They fixed something up front.
Yeah. Came back, said, hey, check your magic bands. They were working fine. Mm-hmm. And then someone else came again and said, hey.
Well, that was actually somebody who was fixing, like who could actually like a tech guy who could, maintenance guy who could fix it.
But told him, hey, everything's fixed, and we didn't have any more problems. Mm-hmm. But he was fantastic, taking care of all of that for us.
Yeah.
So that was just
and knew a lot, like wanted to tell us about the resort, and here's where this is, and here's how you do this.
Tell us about the pools, and their pools are open 24 hours, except for the main pool. And
I mean, he was super, super nice, so that was a positive.
Right.
So we didn't spend a lot of time in the lobby or really exploring the resort because it was already dark.
Right.
We were already ready to like just go and get ready for bed and be done for the night by the time that we got there.
Right.
So I want to talk about the room first before we talk about like the lobby and the...
All right. So the neighborhood we stayed in, we requested that neighborhood.
Yes.
We stayed, like I said, in Congress Park. That one it's done being remodeled.
Yes.
The Springs is done being remodeled.
Yes.
And Paddock, they're
under construction.
They're working on it. The other two, the Grandstand, whatever the other one was, has not been remodeled. Mm-mm. They haven't even touched them yet. And they need it.
Yeah.
They desperately need it.
If you look at the pictures between the two different types, the remodeled rooms and what the older rooms still look like, it's night and day.
Right.
Very much, you still have within the room, the structure of the room is the same as what it was before the remodel.
Right.
They haven't like redesigned the layout.
No.
Completely updated furniture though. Completely updated fixtures. New cabinetry. New shower. Those were still a shower bath.
Right. Yep.
So that was different than what we had at Grandestino, where it is just a shower. Mm-hmm.
Same shower head, though.
Same shower head, which was nice.
Yeah.
I really like that shower head.
Me too.
But that is one thing to consider, is that if you are going and you are going to be taking small children, it is something to consider as far as, like, is there going to be a tub, know, in your room, or is it just going to be a shower?
Right.
And for some small kids, it's not an issue.
When Brooklyn was little, she would have had a fit. She couldn't do a shower.
Yeah, she didn't do... but with the wand, it would have been
possibly
better.
Yeah.
But it's just something to consider. You may need to bring a little blow-up pool with you, depending on...
something.
They actually have those now, because so many houses are going to, and so many places are going to showers only instead of a bath.
Right.
They actually have ones that are meant to fit, like, in...
Okay.
It's like the little baby tub that you put in the tub.
Right.
The little blow-up ones. Bring one of those with you if you have small children at Disney now. So, room is laid out the same. So, like, the closet is still the same kind of closet structure. Right. You don't have a wardrobe. The cabinetry is all new and really nice. You still have a fridge. The difference here is that being a DVC resort, we had a real coffee maker, not a Keurig type.
You got a little kitchenette.
Yeah, you have a kitchenette. So you have a fridge, a microwave,
a sink.
And a sink. You have paper utensils, paper plates,
right,
and cups and things, because we were in a studio, like a
right. Yep, we were
regular room. And then you have a real coffee maker instead of a Keurig one.
Right.
And you have an actual dresser versus having like built-in drawers.
Right. And that's what The TV's over there on it. You had USB ports on the side of the dresser.
USB ports and plugs.
Right. It was a nice dresser.
Mm-hmm.
And good quality. And this room compared to Grandestino, this one you could actually sleep for. Mm-hmm. You have the Murphy bed that pulls down.
Yes.
Where the couch is at, and good thick mattress.
It was
thick
really
Tempur-Pedic type
it was
mattress.
Nice.
Yeah, and the scene of the horses.
It's almost like a mother.
Yeah.
Child
Yeah,
mother and foal.
It's a nice picture, but I don't know. I understand what it has to do with Saratoga, but I don't know what those horses have to do necessarily with Disney. I mean, there's a couple of hidden Mickeys in the scene.
There are hidden Mickeys in the scene. It's something to look at if you're staying in a room like that. But here's the thing. So when we were looking at all of this and we were getting ready to talk about it, we were like, when was Saratoga built as a DVC? So that property itself used to be, what was it, the Art Institute?
The Disney Institute.
Disney Institute. And so, there was stuff that existed there, but when they redid it, it opened in 2004.
Right.
So you do get a lot of very early 2000s stuff, right? That the main theming of Saratoga when it was built in the early 2000s was health, history, health, horses.
I don't remember the other one.
I'll have to look.
But these horses, it's like they're in a stable. I understand connecting them to Saratoga. It's just when you go up into the lobby, you got the picture of all these different Disney horses. I don't understand why that little background couldn't be some sort of a Disney horse, because you got plenty to choose from.
Well, and you have, I think it's just meant to be because it looks like you're looking into a stable.
Yeah.
It looks like they're in a stable. And I think so many of the horses that they picture, as far as, so the pictures around in the lobby are all of Disney horses that have been, in the different movies. Most of them belong to a princess.
A princess, yeah.
So they are like royal, regal. This is more like straight up barn imagery, right?
Yeah.
So the horse that it reminds me of and the artwork that it reminds me of is from 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
When they take refuge in the barn and it reminds me of that versus some of the more regal horses and the style of them. I'm sure there's a story there.
I'm sure there is, because they got a story for everything.
Because there's been really pretty, artwork behind every Murphy bed, every pull down child bed in rooms that we've been in.
Right.
Caribbean's has Mickey laying in a hammock.
Yeah.
And I've seen another Mickey one too.
Right.
So there's also some other really pretty functional artwork. The one thing that felt out of place as far as in the room that we said decor-wise, theming-wise, all of that was the fan.
The fan was weird. It was very modern. Mm-hmm. And then there was also a mirror that was in there that were like, oh, that mirror would have worked well over at Grandestino. Yeah. But other than that stuff, though, I think they did a really good job with the remodel.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
It's
simple.
It's very simple, but with the space they had, there was only so many things that they could do, and I think they did a really good job with it. You got the raised beds off the floor to put your luggage. Mm-hmm. Walls are white, a lot of white and black in there.
Yeah, very, very kind of clean.
Right.
Color scheming there. You had a lot of soft color. So it's
who is it again?
I just lost it again.
Oh, no.
I scrolled too far.
But the fan itself was like one of these 3-blade, curved. You get it going fast. It sounds like a helicopter.
Yeah, it was odd. Even the dresser was a little more modern, but not. It wasn't out of, it didn't feel out of place. It wasn't completely
out of place, like the fan did.
Health, history, and horses was the theme when it was built.
Right.
I was right. So, you do get a lot of the race course side of Saratoga Springs, and that theming is evident throughout, but it's
Right.
very, the way, you described being in Saratoga Springs and like the granite curbs, and it's very
Right.
upscale.
Yeah.
It definitely tried to portray that within the rooms,
I think
the remodel.
so. Yeah. I think they did. It's, like I said, it was very clean. I don't necessarily want to say Victorian, almost like a updated Victorian, maybe, because I know that's what they're trying to kind of go for.
That's what they were going for originally, and I think you see that.
Maybe.
See, I still would call Grand Floridian more Victorian than Saratoga.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. I want to move on though, because there's a lot to talk about as far as some of the other stuff. Dining is kind of limited there.
It is. Right now you only have the quick service and the grab and go there at the Artist's Palette.
Which feels very early 2000s.
It's the lobby itself, and
the
which
dark
runs runs straight into your gift shop. Your gift shop and your quick service share the same space.
They share the same space. They share the same checkout.
Right.
Which was odd.
Right.
And felt it was hard right now because they were trying to direct people and keep people kind of separated.
Mm-hmm.
And even like with the grab and go side of food, like they really wanted you to have a mobile order.
Right.
To be in there, unless you were like, no, I'm getting something out of the cooler, or I'm getting something out of like off the pantry shelf.
Right.
So like, whereas normally you have within your gift shops at most of the other, especially moderate resorts, within the gift shop towards the back will be a wall of coolers, and they will have, some just regular like,
right,
sodas and Powerade and stuff like that.
Yep.
But they also usually have other like grocery type items within there that you might need that would be in a cooler.
Right.
And then they usually have a small section of pantry type items.
Right.
Saratoga had a larger selection of both. Still not very big though.
No, it was the quick service part itself, the restaurant part was small.
Yeah, it was really
small.
And we talked about this and being like, well, most people who are going to stay there are going to be staying there more on like the DVC side, where you're vacationing there for a couple weeks, you're cooking your own meals, you have a full kitchenette, rather than like the smaller one like we had.
Well, I mean, even if you just have a one bedroom, then you got a full kitchen. So it's...
Yeah.
A lot of people may have brought their breakfast stuff with them. Cereal, Pop-Tarts, whatever.
Or you are right at Disney Springs.
Right.
So not that there are very many places at Disney Springs that offer breakfast. There are some.
Right.
So that was one drawback for us, was the fact that like kind of both places that we were at this time.
I mean, yeah, we, at least this, like, here we had the opportunity to get breakfast. Like, we could still get our Mickey waffles or your bounty platter or whatever you wanted that you can typically get at all these places. It was just very small there and very outdated. It's
I'm hopeful that they're going to redo that when they get done with the rooms.
I think they replaced the carpet recently and gave it a fresh coat of paint, but it needs a big overhaul like Caribbean Beach got with their lobby. Like, they completely redid their lobby.
Yeah, but I don't think they redid the lobby part until after they redid the rooms.
Right.
So maybe that's coming. If you know anything about that, let us know on social media. But overall, it was a good stay. Yeah. It was clean. I felt safe.
No,
I
room
really
was
loved
very
the
nice.
view. Like, I would absolutely stay there again.
Right. If Disney Springs is one of your things, like you love going to Disney Springs, our room couldn't be in a better spot.
No. It was hard right now because of COVID and because there is only so many places where you can enter.
Right.
So the closest place where we normally would have been able to walk into like the shopping area of Disney Springs was an exit only area. So exiting, super easy to get back to our room. But to go in, we had to walk down farther and around because they were still doing the same that they're doing at the parks. You have to do temperature check.
Yep. But if Disney Springs is one of your things, that's a great place to stay. Or if you're going to go down there for an extended stay and you have some older ones.
You're bringing your golf clubs. If you're, if you're wanting to just have more days of hanging out at the pool, if you're,
Yep.
Trying to do more exploring
Right.
around Orlando and not just Disney, like,
Yeah.
I would absolutely stay
No.
there again. It
And
was,
the pool looked very nice. I mean, we obviously didn't go in the pool.
no, we didn't. I mean, one, it was cold, and I
Right.
know Disney pools are all heated, so you
Right.
can swim in them when it's colder out. But we knew going down that it was going to be colder.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't going to want to
Yep.
get into any of them, and so we didn't even bother bringing
Right.
swimsuits this time.
Yep. So, yeah, but overall, good resort. Just be prepared that you may have to take the bus around property to get places
Yeah,
if you're really
they do
far
have an
out.
internal bus
Right.
system.
Or you may be walking a ways. For us to get from our room to the carriage house was like a 10-minute walk. or
It
so.
really wasn't bad.
It wasn't that
maybe
bad.
It might
But
have been
if,
like 8
if
minutes.
you got somebody who has a hard time walking a long distance, or you got a bunch of littles,
yeah.
and you may want to take the bus or
Or
drive.
possibly request to be.
Right. The
in-
Springs is right
The
across
Springs
from.
is really close to Carriage House, so that
Right.
would be your best bet if you're talking about that.
Yep.
But you're going to be, then you're a little farther away from Disney
Right.
Springs. So, but it really isn't easy. You can catch the bus to go over there.
Right.
Like you
Yep.
can, when the watercrafts are going, you can do that. Like, it is definitely worth it.
Right.
We talked about the fact that dining there is limited at the moment.
Right.
We did eat at some other really nice places
We did.
while we were there.
Yeah. We'll kind of go down, I guess, the order that we ate at them. We didn't actually eat the restaurant, but we ate at them. We ate at Grand Floridian Cafe.
Yes, after we went to Magic Kingdom.
Right. It was Magic Kingdom closed at 8. We had like an 8:20 reservation, so it worked out pretty nice. That was our first time eating there.
It's honestly, I think, the first time I've ever stepped foot on Grand Floridian property.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever really been over there
Right.
other than a monorail stop.
Right. Grand Floridian itself has a ton of restaurants. It has more signature restaurants than any other resort.
Right.
It's got a bunch of them. Grand Floridian Cafe is kind of their casual,
Yes.
but still nice restaurant.
Right. It's an actual sit-down table service restaurant, but I would say it is your
Right.
most, like, it's not signature. It's not like,
Right. And it's not quick service either.
no,
So-
that's what I mean. It's
right.
it's a sit-down table service restaurant, but
Right.
it's like, of all of their ones there, that's like
Yep.
your bottom tier.
Yep. So there, I had the buttermilk fried chicken, which came with smashed potatoes and, it says a bacon vinaigrette. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And it was a little funky. It was good,
Yeah.
but it wasn't what I was expecting. One, the fried chicken itself was almost like the cornflake fried chicken,
Yes.
which was weird. It's not necessarily what I was expecting because it wasn't in the description.
It wasn't in the description of it. It
Right.
just said buttermilk fried chicken, like,
Right.
and I mean, I guess part of me wants to be like, I guess we should have known better than for it to be like
Fried chicken?
Southern type fried chicken.
Yeah.
But it was still good. I ended up having an allergy friendly pasta. So when we had looked at the menu before, there were a couple of things that I was thinking about getting. And after being in the park and stuff all day, I think my body was just like craving vegetables.
Yeah.
And so I do actually have an allergy to mushrooms. I don't often worry about it with dining. More often than not. I can, it's not anaphylactic, so I'm not worried about like,
Right.
oh my gosh, I can't have it. But I do try to avoid them
Right.
as much as I possibly can. And so I did order off the allergy menu. They do ask you, like, they're trying not to serve off of that menu unless you have an allergy. But the pasta was really good. It was it had a pesto sauce. Like I really enjoyed it. It was
Right.
a lot.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big portion.
Yeah,
Which is,
mine was, it's pretty common.
it's pretty common for Disney to
Right.
have the bigger portions, but
Yeah. it looked good.
There wasn't a lot. I mean, the only thing I will say about like Grand Fleur, like the food was good. There wasn't anything bad about it. Our service was fine. There wasn't anything like really negative per se.
Right.
But it was kind of boring.
Yeah, it really was.
Like, and I don't know if it was just going from the hustle and bustle of being at Magic Kingdom and everything decorated and everything, you know, to like, it was like inside Grand Floridian was like silent.
Yeah, no, it was very quiet in there.
It was very quiet, you know, with the limited tables within the cafe, there just wasn't a lot going on. So, I don't know, maybe it's different during the day.
Maybe.
And
yeah.
instead of dinner, you know, because I'm sure more people eat there for breakfast and lunch rather
Right.
than like dinner. But
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those where I'm like, if we don't eat there again, I'm whatever.
Well, yeah. No, it was good. It was just, mine was surprising. I mean, it was a big portion. It was like 2 big chicken breasts on top of like this big thing of mashed potatoes. The bacon vinaigrette was weird, but what was really weird is hidden underneath the mashed potatoes was raw red onions,
Oh, yeah.
which was weird. Considering I'm not a big onion guy, that would have been bad news. It would have been not good.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the flavor of the chicken and the potatoes and stuff was good, but
Yeah. I would definitely get that pasta again for sure. It was good, but it just wasn't.
right.
I don't know what I was expecting out of it.
Right. And I think, like, looking around, I think a lot of people that were going to eat that night were going to the fancy pants restaurants.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of people dressed up.
Well, and even when we walked by, because there's the one that's right by the water there, and that was pretty busy.
Right.
That was about as full as it could be.
Right. Yeah.
For the night.
Yeah, and it wasn't like when we were outside walking around, there were people out. It just, there was hardly anybody in Grand Floridian Cafe. I mean, there were people in there. It just, it's like you said, it was just kind of quiet and boring.
It was, I don't know. I mean, the whole, we talked about this before, Grand Floridian is gorgeous. I mean, it really is. And if you want to talk Victorian style, that is definitely Victorian style, you know, architecture, and it is very beautiful. If you're staying there, if you're staying at that resort and you need some place to get a meal, totally fine.
Yeah.
I'll take it or leave it.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a limited menu now, but yeah, like you said, take it or leave it. Next place we're going to talk about is Primo Piatto's.
Yes.
Over at Riviera. We went there the morning we left Grandestino before we went to Epcot. And we had a little adventure kind of getting there because you had to get to Hollywood Studios to take the Skyliner over to Riviera.
Yeah.
Which we had to kind of prove we had a mobile order or a reservation in order to do that.
Yeah, and part of that was because of the fact that from the hub for the Skyliner, before, like, Epcot wasn't open yet for the day. So the hub at the Skyliner is trying to limit people being on that line. And on top of that, Hollywood Studios had just opened.
Yeah.
So you have somebody who's coming off the Hollywood Studios line and is trying to get over to Riviera. You're not expecting that to be the case. However, I think I could have argued, I would have wanted to argue back and be like, well, we could have gotten to Hollywood Studios and forgotten something and come back.
Right.
Like.
Yeah. No, at first they were just telling us to get off at Caribbean Beach and walk over, which we could have done too. It just would have been a bit of a walk. Yeah. So, but it wouldn't have been that bad.
We talked before about Riviera, and that it really is a beautiful, beautiful resort. Anxious to get to stay there, for sure in the future. We did talk before about our food here and those lemon blueberry pancakes.
Fantastic. Favorite breakfast I had there.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite thing I had there, but they were dang good.
Those were amazing. I even just liked the feel of that quick service.
Right.
The way it's laid out, the decor, absolutely beautiful.
Right.
You have the continuation of throughout Riviera. You have pictures of Walt. You have pictures of different Imagineers, stuff being built. Like,
Right.
it's very historic.
Right. A lot of his travels over in that area.
Yes, and traveling, and I think some of it is like images of traveling to places where they were doing research for different things.
Yeah.
I'm guessing,
Right.
because of who else is in the photos and where they're at and stuff. And so you have the continuation of these really beautiful classic pictures of Walt, and so it has this very still upscale feel, but
Right.
very casual.
Right. And they have their menu is very different. For being a quick service restaurant, their menu is very different than any of the other quick service restaurants around. It was, yes, you could still get your Mickey waffles and stuff, but the stuff that they offered, I don't know.
It was a little higher end, yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
And
even looking at like their lunch and dinner menu stuff, like same thing.
yeah, it's not just your burgers and
Right.
typical quick service type menu.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I would absolutely eat there again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It actually ends up feeling like a cafe where you could like just in non-COVID times go in and just sit,
Right.
because you can still see out from there out towards
Right.
Hourglass Lake, and so it just feels like someplace that you could just kind of like sit and you can
Right.
see the courtyards and you can see out towards
Right.
the lake, and like you could just sit and have a cup of coffee and like hang out.
Yeah. And at our table, 'cause we had the booth, you could sit there and charge your phone,
it did have
which was nice.
plugs
Right.
throughout, so
Right.
that was a bonus.
Or you could go right outside, and they had nice little like patio sets basically to sit and eat at. Plenty of places to try and sit and eat
Yeah,
and enjoy the
inside
food.
there is not very large either.
No.
Which is, I think that's something that when we stayed at Caribbean, when we've stayed at other, and even Coronado Springs, in their quick service restaurant, like those are massive.
Big, yeah.
But those are also massive resorts that are housing,
Right.
4 times as many people.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting to me is that like that one is smaller inside, like not a ton of tables.
I think it was kind of done on purpose because everything in that resort is intimate.
Yeah, it
If
is
you would have
very
had this
intimate.
big, sprawling, quick service restaurant, it wouldn't
No,
have fit
it wouldn't
in
have fit in there, but it's interesting to me that like you have that there that's like a smaller, more intimate setting, and then you also have that when we were at Saratoga Springs,
Yeah.
like where you have this sprawling, a massive,
Yeah.
And again,
it was a completely different feel.
completely different feel, but like just interesting how you have that in both places and they feel so different.
Yep. Yep. And then that night, before we went over to Saratoga, we actually went to Old Key West and went to Olivia's.
Yes.
So Olivia's is very eclectic. There's a whole story that goes with it. Should have printed it out, but it's kind of long. Basically, when you go in there and you go to look, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this place is so run down. But the story, it's supposed to look like that.
It's supposed to look like a house, like in it, you've just like
Right.
it's expanded and it's grown. You've got like the chairs don't match, and like it's
right.
It's very homey in that
It is.
regard.
Yeah, it's supposed to look like somebody's house, kitchen, dining room. It's just she's added on as they've gone, and like you said, chairs don't match, tables don't match, and it works if you know the story.
And pictures everywhere.
Pictures everywhere. Yep.
So they actually have lining the walls around there. One of the things that they have is DVC members. So DVC families have, sent Christmas card pictures and pictures of them at the parks and
Right.
and everything else. And they have been put up all around. And it's really kind of fun to feel like, hey, everybody's like come home. And here's all of our family pictures all over
Right.
the walls. That one definitely felt like, well, again, still very like casual restaurant. You don't need to dress up for
Right.
it.
No, it's very casual.
obviously, shirt, shoes.
Right.
Like can't come in your bathing suit, but they, still very casual, but not boring.
Yeah. No, it wasn't.
Even just, our server
Right.
and other people around and like just conversations that I heard between cast members and other people that were there. And
Right. It definitely seemed to be a place where people come back to often.
yeah, we actually heard one couple near us that was like, all right, well, we'll see you in February.
Yeah.
And we both kind of went, oh,
Yeah.
like that would be nice.
Fun. Yeah, so jealous. So there, once again, I had fried chicken, but this was their southernmost buttermilk chicken.
Yeah, it's like real fried chicken.
It's real fried, like not bone in.
It's pan fried, I believe.
And it's still like 2 chicken breasts.
Yeah.
And it comes with mashed potatoes and green beans. But this is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
This was good stuff. And I had a Yuengling beer to drink because we can't get those here.
Yeah.
So.
We live on the wrong side of
the Mississippi.
I actually had the special of the night, which was a mahi-mahi dish. And it was surprisingly good. I'm trying to remember what else it was. That the one on a risotto, or was that?
I think so.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It reminded me how much I do actually like mahi. And we don't get it very often. We don't cook it very often. I mean, because in order for us to have it, it's definitely
been frozen. Yeah, we live in
frozen for a while.
We don't live anywhere close to fresh mahi.
It's one of those things where it's like, meh.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to necessarily make it very often.
No.
So it's kind of a nice like treat when it's done really well.
Right.
And I enjoyed it. I mean, it was fun. It was nice. And it gave us an opportunity to see Old Key West.
Right.
And we actually got to see that at sunset, which was
beautiful.
Gorgeous. And I would definitely eat there again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it would be like, for me, it's a once on the trip.
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
type meal. It is pricier.
A little bit.
It's like upper mid-range for table service, I would say.
Maybe. I guess it depends on what you're getting. I mean, you got like the $40 prime rib or whatever it was, but that thing was huge.
It was. We saw somebody else get it.
I think it's pretty comparable to most of your other like table service at the resorts.
Yeah, your non-signature table service ones.
It was cheaper than Grand Floridian Cafe.
It was cheaper than Grand Floridian Cafe, and I felt like we got more out of it.
Right. The fried chicken at Olivia's was 10 times better than what it was at Grand Floridian Cafe.
Now the real question is, was it better than mine?
No.
That is one thing I have not mastered all of our years living in the South. I still like buttermilk fried chicken is an art form.
Right.
And takes a good recipe to...
And they even nailed the gravy with it. And that's a big part.
That's where I get screwed up. I can do the chicken part, but the gravy is... Yeah. Eludes me.
It was solid. It was really good. I enjoyed it. I'd like to try breakfast there at some point. I heard that's pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. We always did table service for dinner just partly because of the way our schedule fell. Mm-hmm. We probably could have reworked it and some of it, but like...
Yeah.
I'm not disappointed with how we did that as far as meals this time.
Yeah.
It did... I do think it kind of screwed us up, of not being on the dining plan.
Yeah.
We made different dining decisions.
Absolutely.
Based on not having that, like, it's already done. It's already paid for. It's already situated. And so I'm still crossing my fingers that they're going to bring that back sooner rather than later.
Right.
I think they will bring it back, but I'm hoping they bring it back soon.
Right.
We had a whole list of places that we wanted to eat at while we were there. We had several places over at Disney Springs we would have liked to have eaten at. We even had places like, I don't know that we had any place in the parks that we were
No, not this time.
Interested in eating at.
No, I think in the future there's some that are going to come out that I want to go eat at, but...
Like the Space one?
Like the Space 220, yeah. That one sounds good. I mean, there's some other ones that have opened up or getting ready to open up, like Woody's Roundup, and I don't necessarily want to eat at that one because it's barbecue, and we get barbecue.
I know, and we get way better barbecue than anything they're gonna. I would have been really hopeful for it if I didn't feel like they kind of dropped the ball on the one in Epcot.
It's supposed to be good unless you're around good barbecue.
Yeah. Like if you don't generally have good barbecue in your area, if you're not here or Memphis, Texas, like
some will say the Carolinas, but
if you're not around like those, but those are the three places that it's really the food's modeled after is like Texas barbecue, Kansas City, and Memphis.
Yeah.
At that one in where is that? The American Pavilion.
Yeah.
In Epcot. But I felt like they kind of dropped the ball on that one. There were definitely some things they could do better there.
The mac and cheese is supposed to be really good there. If you like mac and cheese, go try that.
But it doesn't make me real hopeful for one in Hollywood Studios.
No, and that like the drawings I've seen of it, it just looks like it's going to be so loud and so hectic that I'm like, oh boy, do I really want to go in there? But because I won't be able to hear anything.
No, not at all. That's one of the worst parts about injuries.
Yeah.
Is the hearing loss.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even from the worst of them.
No.
That was the first go around.
Yep. So, all right. I think you're going to escape this time without a would you rather because I didn't come up with one.
Thank God.
So, with that, if you would, please go ahead and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Salute to the Ears. You can catch this podcast on Simplecast, Spotify,
Google, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher.
Yeah, that's the other one. So with that, please go out and find your joy.
Have a magical week.